Welcome back to the Fat Boy Fantasy Football Podcast. It is I, the Fat Boy, Victor, here with Xavier. Once again, back like we never left. How are you doing today, Xavier?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Chilling.
Understandable. We apologize for disappearing in your fantasy football playoffs, much like the Dallas Cowboys do in the actual playoffs. Um, that's just a whole nother story that we could talk about on another day. But for the next month or so, we're going to start talking about dynasty leagues and just kind of what to expect with dynasty leagues, as well as a couple of draft strategy. We'll go into deeper depth of draft strategy on a later episode. We'll just kind of get an idea of what a dynasty league can bring to you and your friends or strangers, family, whatever the case may be. And then we'll also briefly talk about Devy leagues, which is a whole other layer of dynasty leagues, which it starts getting really crazy once you get into there. But how you been, Xavier? What do you think of the NFL end of the regular season as well as the playoffs?
Mm.
Did you see the Chiefs win again with how we were at probably week 11? They were looking a little shaky there for a while.
I honestly I didn't know what to expect, but I mean, once you seen Taylor Swift, then I was like, it's rigged. Thought it was. I was like, it's rigged. Chiefs are gonna win.
Well, I mean, as people like to speculate, the NFL is identified as an entertainment industry, so they can rig games legally, but that is not the conspiracy theory episode today. If you ever wanted to hear that, y'all let us know. We could always go into all the conspiracy theories, like the curse of Jerry Jones, why the Vikings would accept that god awful Herschel Walker trade,
Yeah.
uh, just anything along those lines. We can cover it all. But with all that being said, we're kind of going to start talking today about dynasty leagues. So for my gamers, basically a dynasty league is you running a Madden franchise.
Yep.
So you'll start off with a fantasy draft, basically much like any kind of regular fantasy league, but rather than redrafting every year, you will draft an entire team and you'll keep them year over year. And then, much like the NFL draft does with the NFL teams, depending on how you're placed as a team, you will actually do a rookie draft every year instead of a full fledged draft. Usually, rookie drafts last between 3 to 5 rounds, depending on how the league settings are set. So, that's one thing I would check with the commissioner before you join a league, be able to get an idea of what dynasty league settings y'all have. But what's your opinion on Dynasty League, Xavier? Like, what do you like about them? What do you not like about them? Do you think they're good for newer players? Do you think they're good for only veteran players? Like, what's your take?
I think they're good for everyone. I also think that it's getting more and more popular um, as we go on. Um, I honestly, I last year I was only in like two dynasty leagues. Now I'm in like five. So
Crazy.
six, maybe, and I'm probably gonna join like
Seven, eight,
two or
12.
three, yeah, two or three more, and but I think it's good for everyone. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoy it. I know you enjoy it. You can play year round. That's what I like about it. There's no
Mm-hmm.
break. I mean, you can take a break. I mean, but I mean, there's technically no breaks. I mean, if your chat, I mean, sorry, if your league is active, that's good. I'm in an active league or two. I'm in a league where nobody's active. It's fine. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's year round, so do whatever you want.
Let's say in one of our Dynasty leagues, it doesn't matter if it's January or December, the chat is popping
Yeah.
every single day. For some reason, everything about football. I mean, we even talk about parlays, prize picks, and even one guy's talked about scamming people. It's like we
Dude.
have a whole array of people in that
There's
league.
knowledge too. There's knowledge being passed around.
If you want street knowledge or football knowledge, our league has both. But I think a lot of the advantages with dynasty leagues are really for the people that watch a lot of college football.
Yeah.
Like especially if you are really on the college football, you know who's in the Power Five conferences, you know what players are coming up, you'll have a I guess you could say a hand up on the competition because you know what rookies are coming out. You know what you're kind of looking for. Like I know with this past year, a lot of the quote unquote fantasy experts were talking very highly on Puka Nakua who went in the fifth round of this past year's NFL draft. And a lot of rookie drafts, he was going tail end of the third, beginning of the fourth round area in most cases. If he even got drafted, a lot of people were just saying, Puka Nakua, what's a Puka? You mean like a Puka shell? What is that?
I was.
But
I was
we
saying
saw
that.
how that happened.
You were. Hey,
So
I'll
now,
give you credit. You were the only person I ever heard of that said I'm picking him up in every league, and I was like, yeah, okay, bro.
uh, I was like, worst comes to worst, I have a replacement receiver for the first 3 or 4 weeks that Cooper Cup is out.
Yep.
And it turned into the Puka Nakua show
Yeah.
very quickly there.
Wide receiver, fucking 7, easily
Yeah,
in Dynasty. Top 7,
yeah.
easily.
So that's one thing that you go from spending a fourth round pick on a rookie draft in to potentially even getting like 2 first round picks now at this point, depending on how wide receiver starving the other team is. You can really ring out some teams for some value in these kind of leagues. And that's the beautiful thing about these dynasty leagues, in my opinion, is that you can literally trade whatever you wanted. Like if you wanted to trade a quarterback for first round picks and a running back, if you wanted to trade all your draft picks away for a veteran, you could do whatever you want. You could build your team how you want. If you want to blow up the team like I did in one of my leagues and get 45 million draft picks, you could do that too.
Yep.
But I will say one of the disadvantages of dynasty leagues is whenever you have a really bad team is actually wanting to stick around.
Yep.
So whenever you've drafted that team, you came in 11th place that year, and you have no draft picks, and your entire team's retiring,
Yep.
then you're like, I feel like I'm donating to a charity that I'm not going to have any part of for the next 3 years at least until I get some draft capital.
Yep.
So that's one thing is that if you are new to the Dynasty community, reach out to different Dynasty chats. They'd be able to give you an idea of what to look for. I mean, you could even ask us questions on our Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it nowadays. You can message one of us. I mean, we'll probably answer your questions. I don't think we have anything to do for the most part. We always love talking football,
Every day.
and we'll get your questions answered. I mean,
Oh yeah.
we enjoy bringing new people into the Dynasty community because it's fun, it's engaging. As he mentioned, it's year round, and it is glorious once you win a championship because you're like, I built this team from the ground.
Blood, sweat, and tears. I have yet to win a Dynasty championship.
I won one
It,
this year and came in second in another.
yeah, I've only.
And
This
also,
is my first year.
these are also the teams that you see on Twitter that are these God Squad teams with like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase on the same team with McCaffrey because that team probably that league's been around for 4 or 5 years and that team drafted them early on or picked them up in a trade early on
Mhm.
for them to blow up into a top 5 wide receiver. So if you ever do see a God Squad with like 3 wide receiver 1s, 3 wide receiver or running back 1s, 2 QB 1s, you're like, how did this team lose? You could ask me. We lose twice. So,
It's all
but
luck in the championship playoffs or championship or playoffs. It's all luck. Doesn't matter. I
oh
mean,
yeah,
it matters who
especially
you
when it's a.
have, but like, jeez, man,
I mean, I had what
it
Justin
just,
Jefferson,
dude.
Christian McCaffrey, Justin Fields, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyreek Hill all on the same team and still ended up losing. So, three top 8 wide receivers, a top 10 quarterback, and 2 top running backs, and I still couldn't win a championship with that team. It was ridiculous.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Justin, if you're listening to this, I still hate you for that. But that's a redraft league, not a dynasty league. I beat him in the dynasty league, so I'm the real champion here.
There we go.
But with all that being said, uh, with dynasty drafts, like what is your opinion on what strategy you would go with out of the three? Would you go for a win now team? Would you go for a win in year 2 or 3 team? Or would you go for I call it a constructive rebuild, to where you're
Mhm.
only drafting young players and you're looking at winning 3 years plus from now?
Mhm. I
What's kind
would.
of your favorite strategy to go with?
I. I think if we're talking about dynasty, I think format matters the most.
Mm-hmm.
So, 10 team, 12 team, 14 team, 1 QB, 2 QB, super flex, start 8, 9, 10, 11. First of all, I think that matters the most out of
Mm-hmm.
everything. But if we're just going to go a flat out regular Superflex Dynasty Start 10, which is like 1.5 Titan Premium, which is like the most basic format
Most
that
common draft.
everyone, yeah, that like 80% of people use. I think I usually go with a productive struggle, is what I like to call it. And
Hmm.
it's what some of the people call it, is where you literally just take value at every pick you have. I I don't most of the time I don't care if I had already picked three quarterbacks in a row. If I'm at the tail end of the first and I get Anthony Richardson, Justin Herbert, and then I get the 301 if it's a third round reversal, and let's say like for some reason Jordan Love is still there at the 301, I'm taking Jordan Love. I'm sorry, I will skip out on a Garrett Wilson for Jordan Love. That's just me. And that's just me though. I will go productive struggle. You can sell that quarterback later. Jordan Love was a QB5. I'd much rather have QB5 than wide receiver, well, 36.
17.
Yeah, he was 36 on the year. I don't, but realistically, he's a top 10. Garrett Wilson is top 10. But that's just my thing on it. I will go value at every pick, value, 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 unless Sam Laporta is at the back or is at the beginning of the third or anywhere in the third round. I'm picking Sam Laporta. I will. I will. But I would also have to think, dang, Sam Laporta or Jordan Love, and that doesn't usually happen. But if you're starting out a dynasty league and you're just starting with some friends and they're drafting like redraft, it's perfect. QB Horde. I do it a lot. I literally have a league where my name is the QB Hoarder, and then I changed it whenever I sold all my quarterbacks. I changed it to QB Horde worked because I just have a pretty stacked team other than the running backs, but that's a whole another story. We don't care about.
That's a whole discussion
Yeah,
for a different day.
yeah.
Well, me personally, I go for usually for the win in year two approach.
Mhm,
So whenever I'm approaching the draft, I will draft a majority younger players, but I will build around a couple of veterans as well.
mhm.
So once I get to those fourth and fifth rounds, where like a Josh Jacobs is still there, um, like I've seen a couple of leagues where Saquon and Jacobs are there at the turn. I might even take them both just so I can have a team that could possibly win in year one. But I'm more geared toward winning in year two, maybe
Yeah.
even year
Yep.
three.
Yep.
So in a lot of those cases, if I get a offer for maybe a first round pick for Jacobs or Saquon right after the draft, I might end up taking it because I'm looking at rekeying for year two anyways.
Mhm.
And one thing I've noticed with these dynasty leagues is that don't be afraid to destroy your team
Yes.
if all of your friends are just giving away their draft picks for fun at this point.
Yes. Yes.
I have been in the league where it's year two for us now. Xavier's in this league with me as well, where I ended up with 5 first round picks in this coming up draft where I traded away all 5 of them away now at this point for basically a brand new team now. Next year I have 7 first round picks, and then the year after that I have 4 first round picks. So it's either I am drafting a team with these draft picks or I am getting top 10 assets at each position with these draft picks. I don't care which way it comes. I'm going to get it one way or the other. And people hate it now because they now realize the value of a draft pick.
Yep. They're dumb.
So if you can capitalize on people selling, become the buyer at that point. But if you're going into a league with a lot more veteran players, don't expect to trade Travis Kelsey for 2 first round picks.
Yep. Yup.
That's another
Nope.
thing too. Is once you get to those earlier rounds, I would highly weigh age over skill level. Because just because, as you mentioned, kind of with Sam Laporta, you could argue Sam Laporta or Travis Kelsey in the third round in some cases, depending on what kind of format you're trying to win for. People that are super tied to Travis Kelsey winning them multiple redraft championships, they might end up drafting Travis Kelsey in the third. I wouldn't recommend it because he has 1, maybe 2 years. I think after this year, no matter what happens, he's gone. But I just think him and the entire Chiefs team wanted to have a chance for a three-peat. But as he said, once Big Red is gone, I am gone. So I think they just see that they have a chance to make something special happen. So definitely look at looking at age. Don't draft a team full of 30-plus-year-olds because within 3 years you're going to be not even doing a productive struggle. You are just going
Yep.
to struggle.
Yep.
But do you have anything else you want to add on to these draft strategies? Like, what about for the win now teams? Like, what would you kind of recommend for win now type players?
Someone who wants to win now, a draft strategy. I would
Like, they want to
probably,
win year one.
yeah, year one, I would go. I mean, I think it depends on where you draft, like whether the 101 or the 112. But let's just say smack dab in the middle, 1-6. Let's say you have the 1-6. Right now, I'm looking at a board. Um, I would go ahead. I would take Lamar Jackson at 6, and then on the way back at 2-7. You want to win now? I mean, I wouldn't mind if you went QB, or if you want to just say screw it, we're gonna go CMC. I wouldn't care, because then guess what? Matt Stafford, he produced real well last year. QB
Mm-hmm.
15. I would take that as my QB2 in, let's see, he went at 12-8. He went in round 12. So, I mean, if you just want to take that elite QB first round and say, screw it, we're going to get Matt Stafford in round 12. He was QB 15 last year. I mean, I would not, I mean, you can get CMC round 2, and then on the way back round on 3, you can get Tyreek Hill.
So you get a Devonte Adams probably around there too.
Oh, Devonte Adams. Devonte Adams' stock fell. You know, I'm seeing him round 7 through 9. And dude, even Mike Evans is a good value right now still.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it's pretty good value down there. Even Keenan Allen I've seen fall to like round 9 sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Even Ridley, even after the contract, still down there around 9. I mean, you can get some really good productive struggle teams even with Devonte Adams, Stephon Diggs, Calvin Ridley, Keenan Allen on your team. You can still pick some early or some young guys even in the early rounds and still have those veterans down later.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you want to reach at round 6 or 7, you can still do that. But
But basically, with your win now strategies, basically you're drafting production over age at that point. Like, you don't
yes,
care how old you are, you just care if you're going to produce this year. So that's going to be your, as you mentioned, the Tyreek Hills. It's going to be your maybe Devonte Adams. I feel like he's just going to get force fed touches regardless, no matter who's in that
exactly.
system. Whoever's throwing him the quarterback or throwing him the ball at quarterback. It's going to be your Saquons, your Josh Jacobs. Another
Travis,
thing,
like you said earlier.
yeah, Travis Kelsey. Sorry, but another thing is that do what you need to do. But running backs, you should only start buying those whenever you're ready to win because they have a shelf life of 5 years. It's just as bad as moldy cheese. They get old and they get old fast. So it's like one thing you'll hear people talk about with the Dynasty community is a thing called the age apex. And with this age apex is basically once a player usually hits this age, they start slowly falling down a cliff. Some of it's a slight graceful fall. Some of them is a cheese rolling down a hill.
Austin Eckler.
It's just yeah, it's no in between. Either you're great until you're not, or you just kind of slowly go from 250 points a season, 225, 200,
Yeah.
and you slowly fall down. Or as you mentioned, Austin Eckler, RB2 down to like RB 200.
Yeah, yeah, dude. He was like a round 3 pick last year, round 2, 3, and now he's a 10. 10-9 on this one. I gotta look at other ones. Dude,
And it's
10-9.
just a lot of
Jeez,
it's
man.
just kind of a pick your poison kind of situation. As we kind of mentioned, he likes doing a productive struggle. I like winning in year two. But either way, you could still be able to find the strategy you play with. Uh, do a lot of mock drafts. Like find
Yes.
mock drafts, whether it's on Sleeper or any kind of website, fan tracks, anything along those lines. Do as many mock drafts as you want to get ready for a dynasty league. Because I will admit, the first time I did a dynasty redraft or a dynasty mock, I was in for a whirlwind. So I was like, "Who is this? Who is a Garrett Wilson? I don't know who this person is." He was like wide receiver 30 last year. Why is he getting drafted in the second round now at this point? Just because he has Aaron Rodgers? I still don't know why he was drafted so high this year. So that was I'm a see it before I believe it kind of guy. I don't
Is
know
he
about you,
is he
Xavier.
still a top 10 receiver for you?
I
In
mean, he's on the
Dynasty.
border of a receiver
Dynasty.
one. He's still on the border for me. I'd have to look at an actual list. I'll get that pulled up while we're talking. But for me, it's just going from redraft to dynasty is two different kinds of beast. And play with the draft strategy, play with a position you might draft in or around that position and kind of see what you like doing. But just like with redraft leagues, find a system you want to work with and then be okay with pivoting.
Yes.
Like if you see a lot of people drafting for a win now strategy, don't become the fifth monkey on the bed. Whenever everyone's zigging, you should start zagging and start becoming a productive struggle team or even a
Yep.
win in year two team
Yep.
and build a team in a different way than you expect.
Yep.
Because you don't know what everyone else is going to do until you get onto the draft board. But with all that being said, a couple of the terminologies that we've kind of been throwing around is like superflex. So how would you explain a superflex league to somebody and
So
the advantages of a superflex league compared to a regular flex?
so a super flex league is where you will have, your quarterback, your running back, your wide receiver, maybe a flex spot or two or three, depends on the format if the commissioner wants to add it. But the super flex in specific is one where you have one more flex position, which obviously is called a super flex, which can be a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, uh, tight end, or a quarterback. Um, Usually you do want to put a quarterback there. I would say in my opinion, 9 times out of 10. I mean, unless you're like on a bye week and you're struggling. Um, but I will treat it like a cube. I will treat it like a two QB league where you absolutely need it. But that's just me. I mean, if you have a Justin Jefferson and you just have a overhaul of all these wide receiver ones, or then go ahead. But I value quarterback a lot, maybe a little too much even.
Mm-hmm. I mean, quarterback is definitely the most valuable position, especially for dynasty leagues, just because they do have a higher floor, which just means they, on average, score more points a week than
Yeah.
a wide receiver or a running back. Given you're going to have those volatile weeks where the quarterback throws for 100 yards and four picks. I mean, like for some reason, whenever Patrick Mahomes played the Broncos, he just kind of crapped the bed given he had the flu and all this other stuff. But you're going to have weeks where you don't know if a quarterback's 100%, and he might be able to throw in a running back wide receiver, as he mentioned. In super flex leagues, especially if they have a tight end premium, which we'll go over here in a second, I like throwing a tight end in there sometimes if I have a second tight end that's really good. Like if you have like a Sam Laporta as your number one, then maybe like an Njoku whenever he got hot at the end of the season. Throwing Njoku at the end at the super flex spot if you need to. Because I play in some super flex leagues where we have four flex spots and a super flex on top of it. So it don't matter how you build your team, as long as you've built it to have depth, then you'd be good with putting kind of whatever in the super flex spot. But as you kind of mentioned, the floor of the quarterback is what brings all that extra value to that super flex position. Then I like playing super flex leagues personally because it allows you to use more than 18 quarterbacks throughout the year as a league. Because in regular one flex or just regular flex one quarterback leagues, you have your QB1 that you drafted in whatever round, and you might throw in a backup on your roster. You might not, depending on how good your
You
quarterback
might
is.
have Geno Smith, and that's it.
I mean, I had Ryan Tannehill, and the first year Jalen Hurts came out, and I drafted them both in the 10th round or later, and Jalen Hurts ended up hitting. So,
Yeah.
but you might end up with like two QB2s, or you might just draft the Joe Burrow and say, screw it, I don't need a quarterback no more. And you just play with one quarterback and another quarterback on a bye week. But with Superflex, it allows you to have more flexibility and learn more of the quarterbacks and what their strengths are with their teams and have more of an engaging experience, I believe, in
hmm
my humble opinion here. But next, tight end premium. It's another league, a term you might hear a lot within the Dynasty League community, as we kind of mentioned. It's a pretty standard practice in the league, or a lot of leagues. Basically, with tight end premium, you get a Usually, either going to get a half point or a full point per reception, depending on your dynasty settings. Again, check with your commissioner on that. But you'll get X amount of points per reception. Then, if the player has a tight end position listed next to their name, they would get an extra bonus per reception as well. So, for players like Taysom Hill, who play quarterback, running back, tight end, kicker, linebacker, everything under the sun, he would still get a half point per reception because he has that tight end designation to his name. And it helps add value to tight ends because outside of the top six, maybe I would say, a lot of them might get you like 7 points a week.
Hmm.
So instead of them giving you seven, they might get you nine, maybe 10. But basically, it turns a four reception, 30-yard gain from that would be 7 points to 9 points. So tight end premiums, again, check with your commissioner on how the settings work. They can be fun, adding a little more quote unquote zaniness to the league. Whenever you have that one tight end that pops off for 15 receptions and 200 yards and two touchdowns, like the Travis Kelsey games or a couple of the Sam Laporta games, the Njoku games he had at the end of the year with Deshaun Watson,
Yep.
or not Deshaun Watson, sorry, Joe Flacco, and just explode. So, with that being said, how do you think tight end premiums affect your draft strategy or your team building strategy?
I think it
If
affects
you
it a
do have it
lot.
compared to not having it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like a 2 point per reception is way different than a 1.5 per point per reception. Um, 1.5, I feel like it's not big enough. It's not going to warrant me to take uh, a tight end um, any
A
more.
premium tight end and a tight
Yeah,
end premium.
yeah. Like 2 point per reception. That Sam Laporta is looking a lot better. Trey
Said
McBride's,
screw it.
yeah.
1.01, Sam Laporta.
I mean, but I mean, 1.5 tight end premium. I'm probably, if I can get Sam Laporta in the later third, that's cool. I will do that. If not, F it. I mean, if I can't get a value on Trey McBride or Brock Bowers or Andrews, Hutchinson, Kyle Pitts, I'm waiting, dude. Give me Jake Ferguson later. It's almost as good. If you look at,
Give me a Dalton Schultz.
yeah, give me just, yeah, anything past that is, and a 1.5 is all basically the same anyway. Anything past, like you said, probably tight end six is just a flat tier pretty much. And then if you want to take a shot, take your shots. Um, but definitely in a 2 point per reception, take those tight ends seriously because they can win you leagues and lose you leagues. And I saw I think it was Dynasty Domain, shout out, but they did, I guess, like an anecdotal study. They did an at-home study where they put a poll on Twitter. It wasn't a poll. They said comment who your tight end was when if you won this year. Comment who your tight end was, and it was like 90%. It was like Laporta, McBride. It was just all those top tight ends. So they make the difference, especially if you look at a war graph. I don't know if you know what a war graph is. Wins above replacement, basically meaning um, if you take the top QB and you put him on that war graph, it's going to show he's way better. Obviously, he's way better than your average quarterback. So it takes the average quarterback and it divides up and does math
Basically
and
a replacement level quarterback.
yeah,
So how many wins does this guy give me compared to a replacement level
exactly.
QB? So like for fantasy, sorry, I went country for a second. For fantasy purposes, it would be your tight end one compared to your tight end 12.
Yep.
And on average, how many weeks would this tight end one give you more wins than this tight end 12 would?
Yep.
So as he's saying, winners above replacements, your replacement level tight ends, you're between basically tight end one to tight end five compared to tight end 12 to tight end 18. And in fantasy football, that gap is huge at this point.
Humongous.
Comparing wide receiver one to wide receiver five to like wide receiver 12 and 18, 4 maybe 5 points.
Yeah.
With Laporta down to, let's look at Pat Fryermuth. I mean, that's like 18 points a week compared to like 8. And 10 points a week. That's a
Yeah,
big difference that could win you a lot of games in a lot of leagues at that point.
especially in the premiums, especially. And it sucks
Especially.
because in wide receivers there's a big flat tier too. So
Hmm.
even when you get into the later rounds, I'm just saying F it. I might just say F the value. I'm just gonna start taking my shots at these rookies. Boom, give me Keon Coleman.
Hmm.
Boom, Xavier Worthy. Boom, Adonai Mitchell. Because I already know what these wide receivers down here are gonna do. I already know what uh, Cooper Cup hamstring injury gonna do. I already know what Christian Watson hamstring injury is gonna do. I already know what Terry McLaurin is gonna do. You know what I mean? I already know who these guys are. I'd much
Hmm.
rather take my shot on Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, Troy Franklin, Keon Coleman, the likes of those guys. Um,
Right.
but that's just me.
And then just for numbers purposes, this past season, TJ Hawkinson was number one on a per game average in 1.5 tight end premium leagues. And for, as I mentioned, tight end 16 was Taysom Hill, and he was at 10. So it's an 8 point difference. That could end up winning you a lot of games. That's what, 112 points a year?
Dude, yeah.
Pretty big difference. So yeah, with tight end premium, especially if you're in those two tight end premium, 2 point per reception leagues for tight end premium, if I have Sam Laporta, you are selling me an entire religion and all of their followers to get Sam Laporta off of my hands, especially if you get into the deeper dynasty leagues where it's 14, 16 teams. If you have that tight end advantage over another team, you're almost guaranteeing yourself a 10 point home field advantage almost at that point.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, guaranteed.
And then other thing that we've kind of mentioned is whenever we mention start X amount of numbers, basically different dynasty leagues, some of them are pretty bare bones where you start a quarterback, two running backs, two wide receiver, tight end, flex. So that'd be like what, start eight?
Yeah, some people have start 8 leagues, some people have start 12 leagues. I like start 11 personally, but another strategy where if you have, let's say, a start 9 or start 8, let's do start 8. Let's say you have a start 8 league. I'm going out and I am sending 3-for-1 offers. I will send you 3 of these pieces and give me Justin Jefferson. I'll send you 3 of these pieces and give me CeeDee Lamb. Those are the leagues where you want the hammers. You want the best. You want the best person at that position. If this person over here, okay, you want Tank Dell and you want Stephon Diggs and Marquise Brown, and you're gonna give me CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, bring it. Give me. That's where it is, those are the leagues where depth doesn't matter. Depth doesn't matter as much as a start 11 league where you do need the depth. Where you would say, I don't know if I want to trade Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, and Marquise Brown. I don't know. That's a lot. It's a lot to give, especially in that league where you need the depth, where you need to start, those people in order to have a
And
chance to
especially
won.
once bye weeks start
Yep.
rolling around and injuries start rolling around,
Yep.
where you end up starting, Equinemius St. Brown instead of Amon Ross St. Brown.
Yeah, dude.
So it's just, again, look at your strategies or look at your settings, figure out where you kind of need to be, uh, and also just have fun with it. You're not going to
Yeah.
do great in your first league. You're not going to do great in your first year, especially if you're playing with a bunch of veteran players. Uh, I mean, it could just kind of be a shenanigans league where you and 10 of your boys or 11 of your boys just get together and make a dynasty league and kind of see if y'all like it. Experiment with it. I mean, I always kind of joke around with my friends. It's kind of like playing D&D at this point if you get into dynasty leagues. Usually have that one person that's the commissioner that's been around it for a while, and 11 rookies sitting around this table. It's like, all right, how do we do this now, Dungeon Daddy? What are we doing now?
Right.
So if you have to be the commissioner if you are more experienced in the fantasy side, if you're trying to branch into dynasty leagues,
Don't be
and you
afraid.
just enjoy it. Yeah,
Don't
don't
be
be afraid
afraid
of
to
that.
be commissioner either. There's tons of information out there. There's Google, Sleeper will tell you how to do it. You just type on Google Sleeper how to start a dynasty league and how to do the settings and all that stuff too.
And just one last tidbit, especially for dynasty leagues. If you see a trade that you think is super lopsided because one team gave up 5 first round draft picks to go get Hank Dell or something, feel free to veto that trade.
Yeah. Yeah.
especially if you're the commissioner, because there's no reason to ruin the balance of a league like that.
Yeah.
If someone just keeps making, if they keep winning trades by a little, don't prevent them from also making another trade in the future just because they were able to quote unquote fleece or finesse three different people. That's not their fault. Because I see horror stories on social media of someone's like, "Oh, we tried to make someone tried to make this trade, and I told them no, and they're like, go kick rocks." So I left the league. Don't be that guy. Hear it out.
Yeah.
Just
It.
because you're the commissioner and you made a glorious trade that helps you set up your team for the next 10 years, don't screw over the league. Come on now, be a man. Win it like a man.
Yep. Voice your opinion on the chat. Someone sent
Yeah,
a second and got someone sent a second and got Chris Olave. You're like, dude, that is obviously not right.
delusion.
Yeah, that is
Yeah, that's
obviously
a
not
very
right.
yeah, especially for the first couple of years, you might not know the value of a first round pick. Uh, Feel free to use the tools online. Use a keep trade cut dynasty calculator. Use fantasy flock. Use sleeper. Um,
Use those as a base, first of all. Use those
yeah.
as a base, and then after you see what other people are valuing them at, as a community, then that's when you bring your opinion onto it afterwards, and you say, okay, well, does this actually make sense for my team and my format, and the way I want to construct my roster, or is it just saying that I win the trade just because I get the better person? You know?
hmm Well, it's like even one thing that I did like using whenever I did have the subscription was to Dynasty Nerds.
Hmm.
Excuse me. Dynasty Nerds actually has a trade history to where you could look up all the
Yes.
trades involving
Said
Jalen
person.
Hurts, all the
Yep.
trades involving CeeDee Lamb, all the trades involving Tank Dell, or even just a scrub, all the trades involving Marquise Brown,
Those
people that
those are
aren't
perfect.
valued as much.
Yes.
So use Dynasty Nerds, be able to see trade histories, and just start developing kind of your own personal tier list. I know my friend Xavier here hates Josh Jacobs.
Hey,
I love
I
Josh
like him a
Jacobs.
little more now. Not saying I'd take him in the fifth, because I could not bring myself to do it. But I do like him
What
a little more now. Okay.
he loves Garrett Wilson. I'm kind of indifferent about him.
No, I don't love Garrett. I don't. I mean, I don't love him, but
Or who was the wide receiver that you kept asking me? It's like, really? You
Drake
put them
London.
over him? That's what. Yeah, I don't like Drake London. I don't think the Falcons are going to do good as people or do as good as people think with Kirk Cousins there. With him coming off an Achilles injury on his plant foot.
Hey, hey, story for another day. We'll talk about it another day. We'll talk about it another
Yes,
day.
but
It's a big
the other thing
discussion.
I wanted to cover today was Devy leagues.
Yes.
So Devy leagues. One more thing I should say about dynasty leagues before we get into Devy league:
Yeah.
taxi squad or
Oh,
a
yes.
training squad. Whatever different apps call different things. I know Sleeper they call it a taxi squad. Some people might call it a practice squad, whatever the case may be. Again, check your dynasty settings for this. Some leagues use it, some leagues don't. It does get confusing for newer people on what a taxi squad actually does. But basically, with a taxi squad is like your holding account almost. It's like if you're talking
Yes.
stocks, this is where you are holding on to stocks, kind of seeing if they drop or if they lower, seeing what you kind of need to do with them, kind of feeling them out. I guess you could say it's the casual dating process of your fantasy football team. So depending on the league, you will have a taxi squad, usually between 3 members. I've seen some taxi squads go up to 10 members. I
Yeah,
think they're a
it's
little
crazy.
crazy if they're doing that. But usually the sweet spot's kind of around 3 and 5.
Hmm.
Usually it's however many draft picks you have per year is how many would be in your taxi squad.
Yep.
But
It's
with a
good.
taxi
Use it.
squad,
Use it.
yes, highly recommend using it. Especially if you're one of the teams that did trade for additional draft picks and you're not sure if a player like Lad McConkey you might never have heard of, you're not sure if he's going to pop out,
Dude,
or Estime, the running back. I can't remember what his first name is.
Aldrich Estime.
Uh, yeah, so if he's going to pop off or not, you can hold them in this taxi squad for a year or two, depending on the league settings, and kind of see what you should do with them the next year.
You wanna know a
Either
goofy
trade
I
them
made?
off.
I made a big goofy
Say
last
what?
year. Last year
You made a big
I
goofy.
made a big goofy, dude.
What was the big goofy?
I was in so many leagues last year, and one of my main dynasty leagues, I just couldn't keep up with them all. In one of my main dynasty leagues, it was like week 14,
Hmm.
and I had Zay Flowers on my taxi squad just chilling.
Just chilling,
Just
vibing.
never put him in, dude. I was like, what the heck, dude?
But one thing I will warn about taxi squads is that if you do take them off the taxi squad, A, you can't put them back onto the taxi squad, and then B, you cannot replace that player with another player on your roster to put down to the taxi squad. It's only a team that you can basically adjust in the off season before the season starts. It might be like the preseason, depending
Hmm.
on again league settings.
Yeah, I made mine
But
different,
yeah,
but that's stock, yeah.
but yeah. But basically, it's a holding account. If you want to start them, you can throw them onto your roster. Then of course you got to drop someone else off of your roster. But basically, it's just you holding on to somebody and saying, "This is my player," until
At
either
least a
I
year.
release them or until someone gives them me an offer for them.
Yeah.
And I also one thing that people can consider doing is that I've seen some teams that develop this God squad and somehow also hit in that next coming up draft on a player. A fun addition, I guess you could add, is that if someone drafted that player, say in the third round, like a Puka Nakua, and they're holding him onto the taxi squad because they're trying to basically hold this player hostage for the rest of the league. What I've seen some leagues implement is whatever round they were drafted in, you have to offer that player a round higher. So if he was a third round pick, you have to offer that person a second round pick, and they have up to 3 days to decide if they're going to accept that trade or put that player on their roster
Yeah,
and
yeah.
kick him off their taxi
That's
squad.
a good idea. Very good idea.
So instead of someone holding a player hostage like a Puka Nakua, like I think a Tank Dell was even like a third round pick last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But instead of them holding a player hostage like that, you can say, hey, I have sent this trade to Xavier. I'm wanting Puka Nakua for the second round pick. Either he gives me Puka Nakua or he puts him on his starting roster. Basically,
Yep.
is how that scenario would go.
He's tanking.
So plus
Don't
roam
let him
around,
tank.
and in some leagues, I've seen people hold a first round pick in their taxi squad. The person's crazy enough to do it, they could offer them 2 first round picks. So,
Yeah.
just an idea, even for the experienced Dynasty people out there. But do you have any other words on Dynasty leagues before we transfer over into Devy leagues?
Dynasty.
Any kind of last words?
Not really, man. I mean, it's it's so simple that it's complex. It's just straightforward and but there's so many different paths you can go down. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we'll we'll hit everything even as we go after this video. Things always get left out. So
Right. So we're gonna, as I mentioned, we're gonna go deeper into the draft strategies we mentioned earlier. Then we're also going to start mentioning some of the rookie prospects. And then we will eventually do a rookie mock draft, especially once the NFL draft happens. As of whenever we're recording this video, we have about a month till the rookie draft happens in the NFL. Then, of course, we still have all the free agency moves that we got to cover. So we have plenty of content planned for the next
it's gonna be great.
5 months until training camp.
Very entertaining. I love it.
I am ready for football to be back already. This is my seasonal depression until football comes back. But the last thing we're going to cover today would be the Devy Leagues. So Devy Leagues has started to gain a little bit more popularity.
Hmm.
This is where you know you're really down bad for fantasy football whenever you start doing Devy Leagues. So basically, the Devy League is the next layer on top of the Dynasty League. So basically, you have redraft, you have keeper, you have Dynasty Leagues,
Yeah.
then you have Devy Leagues, which is the tip of the iceberg. This is the Mount Everest. Once you're up here, there's no going back down. You are stuck. So, Devy Leagues, I have yet to get this far yet, but I
We
bet within
will.
the next year or two,
We'll do it.
I am going to be in the Devy
You
League.
want to do a Devy League this year? F it.
That's fine with me.
We'll
But
decide now. Yeah.
with Devy Leagues is basically you'll have your rookie draft, which is be, as I mentioned, 3 to 5 rounds usually, and then you'll have a Devy draft, which is 1 round. If you're really wanting to stretch it, you might be able to do two. But with the Devy draft, it's also optional for the person to do it if they want to do it. It's set up the same way as a rookie draft. If you were last place in the league, you get 1-1 in the rookie draft. And if you do two separate drafts, you could do 1-1 rookie and Devy, or just do a rookie Devy draft together. But Devy is short for developmental.
Mhm.
These are the players that you see in college still, the incoming freshmen, or the big name players like your Quinn Ewers that can't come out this year. A lot of people are still high on Arch Manning, even though he's a backup to Quinn Ewers. Your Quinshaw Judkins. Uh, any player that's not eligible this year for the NFL draft, you can draft in your Devy draft. So if you're really high on somebody in college still and not high on somebody in the rookie draft, you can draft that player, hold them on to your Devy squad instead of
Mhm.
your taxi squad. Usually Devy squads have a max of up to 5 people, and you just hold them there until they come into the league, or until someone trades them, or until you release their rights.
Mhm.
Basically, this is your, if you're talking MLB, this is your AA, AAA team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in some leagues, they get super crazy, and they can even score points for you. I'm not going to get that far into it because that's a whole other layer. I'm not that familiar with it, so I'm not going to talk about it.
Yep.
But Devy leagues, what is your opinion on Devy leagues?
I think they're fun. I think it's for people like us who are just degenerate fantasy football people who just like literally can't stop thinking about it or sending trades. So, I mean, yeah, I mean we have yet to join one, but it seems very fun, thinking about, oh, who is Arch Manning, as of like 3 years ago. No, he's always been around. Why am I lying? But,
Who is Quinshaw Judkins, as I kind of mentioned. He is the running back for Ole Miss. There was a 5-star recruit named Zach Evans that originally signed with TCU, then transferred to Ole Miss, and then he thought he was going to go to Ole Miss and get his own starting backfield and be the workhorse back. Lo and behold, here comes Quinshawn and said, "Give me your cookies. I'm taking this backfield now. These are my keys now." Deboed the backfield away from him as a 3-star diamond in the rough recruit out of Mississippi.
yep.
So maybe if you saw him before he came out of high school, you're like, that guy's going to be a star. I'm drafting him in my Devy league.
No, like you said earlier, drafting baby Gronk. Like, what are
Yes.
you doing?
If you see me and Xavier at your kids' little league fantasy or your little league football game, don't mind us. We are scouting for the 2040 NFL draft. All right. If I hear about a running back coming out of Haltom, I am going to that little league game. You better
Yeah, dude.
believe it.
You said he's 6'1", 240? He's 15?
How old is
Yeah.
he? He's 12. Xavier, we're going on a trip.
We're seeing him. We're seeing him.
I want to see this man live. That boy toting that rock. It's like even on Keep Trade Cut, they actually do have a Devy rankings list. If y'all ever do want to see that, if you're thinking about starting a Devy league, kind of having an idea of who to look for. The top 5 they have right now would be Luther Burden III from Mizzou, Arch Manning, as I mentioned, Shadur Sanders, Emeka Egbuka, and Travion Henderson. The number 6 was Quinshawn Jenkins. So this is just an idea. I'm pretty sure Travion's coming out this year, though, isn't he? Or is it next year?
No, I think you're thinking of Trey Benson.
Trey
Travion
Benson.
Travion Henderson is going
Because he
back.
goes to Ohio State, correct?
Yes.
Travion.
Yeah, unfortunately, he at first he said he was gonna declare, and then he reverted back, and he was like, you know what, out of here.
I'll give it one more year, dog.
Yeah, which is, I just don't like it, dude. Bro, go get your money, dude.
Come out.
Yeah, go get your money,
I
dude.
mean, he's probably making more in college now than he would make in the NFL as a rookie contract.
Yeah, but
Let's be honest.
dude, you have a really big chance of tanking your draft stock, and or you know what, maybe even upping it, but you're taking a chance of getting injured.
I mean, he could end up being like Jamar
But
Chase and just sit out a whole year and still get drafted in top 10.
dude, that's crazy. Even yeah. Did you see there was a post on Twitter today that was like it was like a high school coach and he was like if I see if I have a player on my team who's a junior and he has a full ride scholarship and he sits out his whole senior year, you're not like we don't want you around the team at all.
No, that wasn't high school coach. That was Kirby Smart.
Oh, okay.
That was the head coach to Georgia's. Like, if you're not playing your senior year, you're not playing for Georgia.
Yeah, dude,
So basically, if he pulls the Quinn
that's
Ewers and
stupid.
skips his senior year to go to Ohio State, he wouldn't be playing at Ohio State if he was the coach over there.
Come on, dude. It's just crazy.
But basically, Devy's just another layer of it. If you wanted to draft a player from 2030 and hold him onto your roster for what 6 years at this point, you could. But we'll hear about some generational talent like 5 years from now, and just be like, "Yep, Devy, 101, that man right there,
Yeah,
Kobe Bryant, Lower Marion High School."
dude. I bet the easiest 101 Devi pick was like probably. You know what? I don't even know what I'm saying.
I don't know what you're saying either.
I don't. I was gonna say like
I
Marvin
mean,
Harrison just 'cause like you could literally just see it with your eyes. But like
also his dad's named Marvin Harrison, so
exactly like Marvin Harrison, dude. I'm like, that's probably like one of the easiest top five Devi picks of all time. You're just like, dude, what? Hell yeah, I'm gonna pick
I
him.
mean, even
He's
Bijan last year.
yeah, dude.
Like if you saw Bijan his sophomore year, you're like,
Him.
he gonna run the ball on Sundays.
Yeah, yeah. He's going somewhere in life. We're getting him.
Or Brees Hall 2 years ago, and he was playing for Iowa State. That boy toting the rock.
Yeah, dude.
Or any of these, I mean, even Malik Neighbors, any of these receivers speculated to go in the top 10. Um, I've seen some game footage on Rome. Starting to lose a little bit of hope on him. Again, different episode though. But any of these players that are coming out this year, you could have drafted last year in a Devy draft. Is all I'm saying.
Mhm.
You could have got your Caleb Williams, your Jaden Daniels. But in a lot
Some,
of the cases,
yeah.
you only have one pick, 12 picks at most for a league. You can only take so many of these college players.
Dude, I've seen a 4 round Devi draft. It's getting bananas. It's getting bananas.
Yeah, you
Personally,
have the
I
same
would do
people
3. I
that
would do
play
3. I'm
redraft
regular.
leagues. You have the same people who play redraft leagues. You have the crazies like us who play dynasty leagues. You got the lunatics that play the Devy leagues. Then you got those people in the insane asylum that are doing 8 round Devy draft leagues. But
Those are gamblers, dude. Those are they're just, dude.
I swear, baby Gronk gonna be the one.
Yeah, dude. You seen his dad? He's like 5'9". You're like, he's not. He's not gonna be the one.
In round 7, pick 11, I'm taking Kai Sanat. I saw him throw a basketball down a bowling alley. He's got to go to the league soon.
Yeah.
I'm taking destroying in the 8th round at this point. He's going to be my kicker one day on Sundays. But
What else do we got to talk about? Are we is that
we had a lot to talk about, but I don't want this to be a 5-hour episode. I would like to
dude.
get some kind of sleep today.
Yeah.
But with that being said, reach out to us. However you get your podcast, leave us a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're here to answer any kind of questions about Dynasty Leagues. If you want to kind of preview one, we can kind of have you as a co-owner for one of ours. Kind of see what a Dynasty League looks like. We can walk you through it. Just let us know. We're here to help. We have enough listeners, all 8 of y'all. We can even make a Dynasty League. Who knows?
Yeah. That'd be cool.
The Fat Boy Fantasy Football Dynasty Devy League.
That'd be cool.
But we hope y'all have a great day, great night, great afternoon, great whatever time you're listening to this podcast. And we will see y'all next week.
Yes, we will. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be better.
Bigger, faster, stronger.
All right. See you later.
See y'all later.